When people hear the word ego, they usually think about arrogance. They imagine someone who is prideful, someone obsessed with proving they're better than everybody else. And if you look at Vegeta at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, that description actually fits him perfectly. He arrives on Earth as a conqueror, a prince of a dead race, who believes he is inherently better and superior to everyone around him. He doesn't fight for justice, he doesn't fight for growth. He simply fights to prove one thing, that he is the strongest. But if you really look into Vegeta's story, you start realizing something deeper. Vegeta isn't just a character defined by pride. He's a character defined by ego, and the reason his story resonates with so many people is because whether we like to admit it or not, a lot of us struggle with the exact same thing. Not necessarily the arrogance, but the pressure to prove something, to prove we're worthy, to prove we matter, to prove we're not less than anybody else. And Vegeta's entire journey is really that of someone learning what ego actually means, and how it can either destroy you or transform. When Vegeta first appears in the series, his ego isn't just pride, it's actually his armor. He constantly reminds everyone that he is the prince of all Saiyans, even though his entire race is gone, and even though his kingdom doesn't even exist. And when you think about that, you realize something. Vegeta's actually only clinging to the only identity he has left. You need to understand that he grew up under the rule of Frieza, the same tyrant who destroyed his entire race. He literally watched his people die, as he lived his entire life under someone stronger than him. So his ego became the only thing protecting him from feeling powerless. And if you think about it, a lot of us do the exact same thing. We tend to build our identities around achievements, around status, around being the best at something, because we tend to think that if we lose that, we literally lose ourselves. And that's when you start seeing for Vegeta being the strongest wasn't about ambition, it was literally survival. Because if he wasn't the strongest, then what was he? Then Vegeta meets Goku, and for the first time his whole identity is challenged. Because Goku, when you look at it, isn't royalty. He isn't elite, and he's not even supposed to be strong. He's literally a low-class Saiyan raised on Earth, and yet somehow he can stand against Vegeta. And that moment creates the first crack in Vegeta's ego, because suddenly the story he told himself his entire life begins to fall apart. And this is something all of us experience at some point. We build an identity around being the best at something, then one day you meet someone who's simply better, or someone who succeeds without the same struggles you went through. And suddenly the question appears, if I'm not the best, then who exactly am I? And that question becomes the driving force in Vegeta's life. And from that moment, every single thing he does revolves around one goal, becoming better than Goku, surpassing Goku. But the deeper truth is that Vegeta isn't actually trying to surpass Goku. He's simply trying to protect his ego. Psychologically speaking, Vegeta's struggle is a conflict between two parts of the self, the conscious self and the instinctual self. The conscious self is the voice in our head. We think, we compare, we doubt. It's the part of us that constantly measures our worth in front of other people. But the instinctual self is different. It's the part of us that simply acts, without hesitation, without overthinking, and without any insecurity. Throughout most of the series, Vegeta is trapped in the conscious self. His mind is consistently racing. He's always comparing himself to Goku, always asking if someone else is stronger, always forcing himself to become something greater. And the more he tries to control everything, the more he loses himself in the process. And this pressure eventually reaches a breaking point. The Majin Vegeta arc is one of the most honest moments in the entire series, because for the first time, Vegeta admits something that many people struggle with in real life. He hates the version of himself that he has become. Living on Earth, having a family, he admits that these things have made him soft. And to Vegeta, softness means weakness. So when Bubby D offers him power, Vegeta accepts. Not because he's truly being controlled, but because he wants to reclaim the identity he feels like he lost. The ruthless Saiyan Prince. And this moment is actually incredibly human, because sometimes people sabotage their own growth just to feel like themselves again. They return to old habits, old identities, old versions of themselves that feel familiar, even if those versions were actually destructive. But what makes this moment powerful is what happens next. Because when the moment of truth arrives, Vegeta doesn't choose destruction. Instead, he chooses sacrifice. He ends up giving his life to protect the people that he once thought were making him weak. And in that moment, something inside of him changes forever. Later in the Buu saga, Vegeta finally understands something that haunted him for years. Goku isn't stronger than him because of talent. He's actually stronger because of how he fights. Goku doesn't fight to prove anything. He fights literally because he loves the challenge. Because he always enjoys growing. Because the fights themselves give him meaning. And for the first time, Vegeta admits something he never thought he would say. Goku is number one. But this realization doesn't actually break Vegeta. Instead, it frees him. Because he finally stops chasing someone else's path and realizes that he has to walk on his own. That philosophical difference eventually appears in future transformations. Goku achieves Ultra Instinct, a stage where the body moves without conscious thought. To reach this state, Goku has to eliminate the parts of him that interfere with his instincts, overthinking, hesitation, and even emotion. Because Ultra Instinct requires calmness. It requires surrender. It requires letting go of the self. But Vegeta is not someone who lets go of himself. Vegeta's entire identity is actually built on will, which is why his path leads to something completely different. Ultra ego. Ultra ego is often misunderstood. Some people think the transformation is simply about taking damage to make you stronger, but that's not the core idea at all. Ultra ego actually represents something deeper. Instead of suppressing ego, Vegeta embraces it completely. He eliminates every single instinct that holds him back. Fear, self-preservation, doubt, restraint, everything that tells him to hesitate. Because ultra ego requires absolute commitment. No holding back, no second guessing, just pure forward momentum. And in many ways that reflects a lesson about our lives. Some people reach greatness by emptying themselves completely, like Goku, by becoming calm, by letting go, but others reach greatness through pure conviction, through willpower, through embracing themselves completely. And that's the part that Vegeta teaches us. The true form of ultra ego is not about pain, but it's truly about acceptance. Acceptance of who Vegeta truly is. Not someone chasing Goku, not someone trapped in the past, but someone who fights according to his own nature. Vegeta no longer needs to prove to himself that he's the strongest. He no longer has to compare himself to anyone else. His ego literally becomes something different. Not insecurity, not pride, but identity. And that's why Vegeta's story resonates with us so much. Because many of us spend years trying to prove something, trying to prove we're good enough, trying to prove that we're better at people at what we do. But the real breakthrough doesn't happen when you defeat others. It happens when you stop fighting yourself and finally become who you are. And that's the true meaning of ultra ego. Not arrogance, not destruction, but the moment people stop apologizing for who they are and step fully into it as well as embrace it. Think about that.